Okay, so last video cut off kind of abruptly there. And what I wanted you to do is try this example on your own. So if you didn't figure that out, go ahead and pause this one again and try to get that one done. So okay, so hopefully you got it figured out. So let's jump in and it's molecular, so it's got some different stuff going on. So let's start here with the phosphorus. So that's just P, and then there's an O for oxygen. So we're gonna so phosphorus and oxygen is a plus, right? To form, that's the arrow. So arrow. So di. So let's remember, di meant two, so that would be P2, and pent meant 5, so that's O5. So remember, molecular, there was no crisscrossing, there was no looking up charges. You just do what it says. And so that's because we had stuff like this, di and pent, where we haven't, we had the different sets of rules, 4 sets of rules. And so you just got to juggle those. All right, so let's check for the diatomics first. Phosphorus is not in Brinkelhoff, so no 2. Oxygen is in Brinkelhoff, so it gets a 2. We don't care about these because they are in a compound. All right. So now I got a balance, and what's going to happen here is you're going to run into trouble with this 5 and this 2 because the only common number between those is going to be 10. And so you might not spot that right away, but if you do, that'll kind of help. So if we take 5 to 10, that'll be a 2. And 2, that's a 5. And then here we go. Different color. 2 times 2 is 4 for the phosphorus. So I'll put a 4 in right there. So that's what you end up with. You end up with a 4, 5, 2. So it's 4 phosphorus, 10 oxygen on the left, 4 phosphorus, and 10 oxygen on the right. And so you're not going to always have to write them out every time. You'll start to get better, able to do a lot of these in your head. So, all right, let's try this one right here. Let's zoom in. I think we'll probably work this one together. This one's a little trickier. I want to show you some things, and you guys can try the last one on your own. So let's go ahead and get this one going. So the phosphoric acid, one of those ones that hopefully you start to figure out, but it's hydrogen and phosphate, and phosphate's a +3. Sorry, not a +3, a -3, and hydrogen's a +1. So we'll go ahead and crisscross those, and we get H3PO4. Okay, let's add that to calcium and hydroxide, where calcium is a +2, hydroxide's a -1, so it's Ca2, better parentheses, CaOH2, because the Ca2 crisscrosses down. Slide over here, calcium phosphate. Actually going to run out of room, so I need to be careful. So calcium is still +2, and phosphate's going to be still -3. So the 3 is going to be here, and then we're going to go ahead and parenthesis that. So I think I'm going to clean up those charges real quick. There we go. Just want to make sure we can read it all. So it's like this. And then the last chemical is water, and I've run out of space. Let me just rewrite it real quick so that I'm not having it all on different lines. So like this, and like this. There we go. Now remember, a lot of times you'll have these formulas given to you. This is just showing you how everything we did last unit kind of builds on it and kind of relates. And so that's kind of what it looked like. But I kind of wanted it nice and clean like that. Okay, so let's do the balancing. Now, the reason I did this one, I did this one on purpose. You're going to have to put numbers, and you're going to have to juggle these parentheses. Okay, so if you put a number in front, we're going to have to kind of understand what happens. So let's go ahead and look at this. So right away, we have a 3 in front of that calcium, where I'm going to have to put a 3 here. Okay, well, that fixes the calciums, 3 on both sides. But what happens is this 3 is going to multiply through. So that's going to be 3 times 2 because it multiplies by this. So that's actually 6 O's and 6 H's, because 3 times 2 for the O and 3 times 2 for the H. And so when you put something in front and there's a parenthesis, you can have multiple things getting multiplied. And so we just have to kind of pay attention to that. So the calcium is fixed. And then we can look, and this means that you have 2 of those, or that you have 2 P's and 8 O's. So if we look over here, I can conveniently put a 2 there, and that will take care of that. So it's like 2 P's and 8 O's. Or I a lot of times tell students that if you can spot the idea that this is a thing and that same thing is over here, then that really helps out. And so you can just be like, oh, I got 2 of those things. All right. So let's just check the H's here. I usually say do O's at the end. I think that's a really good thing to help students. So do the O's at the end. So we've got here, we've got 6 H's, and then this is 3 times 2 for another 6. So there's actually 12 hydrogens on this side. And that's one thing that students have to recognize, is that everything adds up. So it's like everything over here versus everything over there. So it's not just where they're at. If they're in 2 places on the same side of the arrow, they combine. So we got 12 H's over here. So how do we get 12 H's on the right? Well, let's just go ahead and put a 6 here. 6 times 2 is also going to be 12 H's, since that's going to work out. Now look at the O's. A lot of times the O's will solve themselves. So let's take a look at that real quick. I've got 8 O's there, so 2 times 4. And here I have 6, right? So 8 and 6. So 8 and 6 is 14. Let's look over here. There's 8 and there's 6, 14. So notice the O's solved themselves. A lot of times that will happen. So your answer would be 2, 2, 3, 1, 6. 2, 3, 1, 6. So, all right. Last example. Have you guys work that on your own? Pause it, work it on your own, and then I will run it through and see what you get. All right, here we go. Hopefully you got the right answer. Getting better. NaBr +1 -1. Okay, and there's a plus sign. Ca +2. F is -1, so it's a CaF2. Don't forget the crisscross. I mean, always happens, but students forget this part, right? Like, that's a big deal. You don't want to forget something that would get the problem wrong. Sodium fluoride and calcium bromide. Oh, +1 -1. And then calcium bromide +2 -1. So it's going to look like that. So there you go. NaBr plus CaF2 is NaF and CaBr2. So let's go ahead and balance it up. This one's pretty easy. 1 and 1. So sodiums are good. Br is 2s. Okay, so let's put a 2 here. So there's 2 Brs. But that, remember, that multiplies through. So now there's also 2 NAs. So the NAs are fixed. So Brs are good. NAs are good. 1 Ca, 1 Ca. Okay. And 2. Incorrect. 2 times 1, see, this multiplies through. So that's 2 fluorines. So that works, and we are set. So that's balancing, guys. Once again, I want to point out some highlights before we go. You're only putting numbers in this front position. Okay. If you ever find yourself fiddling with the small numbers, then you are making a mistake. You cannot change those. All right. When you put things together, making your formulas, you check for Brinkelhoff, you crisscross, you do all those things. So, but now that we've gotten through the notes, I'm going to have you guys dive into some practice. This is what your practice looks like. Notice that in your practice, I have taken out any of the sentences, the words. We're just going down to, hey, I gave you the right formula. You practice putting your values in these spots, right? So I've even like laid it out so that you're hopefully not playing with the subscripts, which you should be leaving alone, meaning that we're not doing anything with these little numbers here. We have to leave them alone. So, so run through this. Remember, we don't write down ones. So if you leave something blank, it is implied that it is a one, right? So if I'll do the first one here real quick. If I put a 2 here and a 2 here, if I leave this blank, then it is implied that that is a 1. Okay, so that would be the way I would read this as an answer. Would be a 2, 1, 2. So anyway, that's what's going on here. Just because there's a blank doesn't mean you have to put a number that's not a 1 in there, which means a lot of times you can leave them blank. So, and then every once in a while they may be balanced, meaning you don't have to add anything. So, all right, you guys are going to try this. I'm going to pause it. Hopefully you got a good foundation. I guess I should go back real quick and show you that we did go through all of the PowerPoint, or sorry, the Google slide presentation. I just kind of skipped through things, so it's all stuff that we did. This is where we kind of ended. You can see there's that first example. You can kind of see it's just the same thing I did. I just did it with you instead. So nothing different. And I may post this up there so you guys can look at it. But if you take good notes, you should be in good shape. Also remember that with assessments and things, having these notes could be super valuable to you. So